Just bounce to this.
So obviously, you and I are a little bit different than some of the other, and I'm maybe not obviously because some people may know, some people may not. But you're a good buddy of mine, cycling buddy, training buddy. We go on bike rides and a couple of runs, but mostly the bike. But I know a little bit more about you than some of the other people I've interviewed, but still. I'd love to hear your perspective and hear from you about your business. We never actually really sit down and talk shop. It's usually always training and stuff like that. And we have collaborated a couple times on a couple of business things, but I think this will be good to just talk through this. So before we kind of just dive into like what your business is, tell me a little bit about yourself. Who's Adam Epstein?
So I am a father and a husband. I got 2 kids. I have a 6-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl. I own Longhorn Restoration, and I have a lot of hobbies. I like working out, and I like doing a lot of. We're a very active family, and we spend a lot of time outdoors. And so, when it comes to swimming or sailing or biking or running or anything, we jump into it with both feet. So owning a business gives me a lot of freedom to pursue other interests. I don't work on my business in order to build an empire. I work on my business in order to enjoy the other aspects of my life. And so that's what I'm working on.
That's awesome to hear you say that, man, because we've been on, I don't know how many bike rides, and we've been out in the in the saddle for a few hours, and I've never heard you say it from that perspective. And that's pretty awesome.
Right.
There's a saying that goes, I can't even think about it. I'll come up with it. I'll think about it here in a minute, but it's a really good saying that relates exactly to what you just said. So Longhorn Restoration, tell me about your business. I know I know some, and I think what I really want to hear and exactly what it is, but how long you've been around and how long you've been doing it.
So when I was 19, I was sort of in a transition period, but I was going into cycling pretty seriously. That wasn't going to work out. Professional cyclist wasn't an option anymore. I had some injuries and some things like that. And so I was sort of looking for just something to do. And I started a carpet cleaning company. I had a conversation with my grandfather at a family reunion, and we weren't very close, but I didn't have a job, and I moved back in with my parents, and we were in Missouri, and we were just having a conversation, and he said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I think I'm going to go. I'm going to start a carpet cleaning company." I kind of just had rented them from the grocery stores, the carpet cleaning machines.
Yeah.
I just sort of enjoyed the business, and just enjoyed the work. And he said that if I would move in with him in Amarillo, he would sort of sponsor my endeavors. He would fund me a little bit. And I didn't have any money, or I had a little bit of money, but not much. And so that's what I did. I moved to Amarillo. We were not, you're as close as you are with your grandparents, 6 hours away as the normal person. We'd see him on the summers, but we weren't real close. So moved to Amarillo. He sort of kept me in control, so to speak, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was very impulsive. I didn't know how to deal with money. I had no idea how to run a business like that. And so he gave me a lot of trust, a huge amount of freedom, which is sort of not in his character. He's kind of like a very conservative old man who kind of likes things going his way. And so he took a big risk on me. And we built the business there, and it took off. At the time, this shows you how long ago it was, our main draw was the phone book. So my little niche or secret was I had coupons in the back of the phone book for carpet cleaning, and that was his idea, and it took off, and that business really, really, really grew. That business is still in business in Amarillo to this day. After about a year and a half or so, so he bought me a van, and my first carpet cleaning machine was about 60 grand. After a year and a half, I bought another van and came back home to Fort Worth. I basically gifted him that business, and so I really didn't take anything from Amarillo with me. I took the original van, and we bought a new van and machine and left it there. So I had what I started with. I paid him for the van, I paid him for the business, and then I left him the business and came here and started my own business. It was a lot harder in the Metroplex. People don't use the phone book like they did in Amarillo. Yeah. So I struggled in the beginning. I was actually commuting for the first year of my marriage. I got married at 20. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, I would work in Fort Worth. Tuesday nights after work, I would drive to Amarillo. I would work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in Amarillo. Friday night, I would drive home and then start that all over again. And I did that for a little over a year because I didn't have a big enough business in Fort Worth to support me. So I had to commute. So a lot of miles, a lot of audiobooks, things like that. And then finally the business, I kept trying different, what worked in Amarillo did not work here. Yeah. So I kept trying different things. I went into commercial, I went into very, very low end communities working cleaning carpets there. And you know, I learned a lot there. And then I did everything else. When I was washing windows, I was power washing. I just tried a lot of different things. And then I really got into just different aspects of the business, trying to study it, trying to experiment. I failed, I can't tell you how many times on with different things. And then Hurricane Sandy came around. Hurricane Sandy was 8 years ago, and I had no money. We were literally broke. I had done a mountain bike race in Oklahoma, and I'd won a little bit of money in Oklahoma. I came home. Hurricane Sandy happened on Halloween, and I was talking to my wife, and I said, "Hey, look, for the next 2 or 3 weeks, we have nothing lined up for work. I have," and I had never done this before either. I have enough money pretty much to make it one-way trip to New York with diesel and such. And so that's what I did. We discussed it. I have a very supportive wife, and even whenever my ideas are dumb or fail, she doesn't "I told you so," which is very important. That's key, because I have failed and failed and failed and failed and failed, and she doesn't ever rub my nose in it, so to speak. I always try to learn from that. So she trusted me and was like, "All right, you're going to take all the money we have. I'm going to stay here." At the time, we had a year and a half or a 1-year-old baby. And I drove up to New York and spent the next 7 months living in a tent in New Jersey and New York. And I cleaned up, man. And while I was in New York, my original company was called Adams Carpet Cleaning. I noticed I was getting, because I was drying houses after Hurricane Sandy, and they would not hire a carpet cleaner. So there was a lot of companies who had gone to New York who had sort of were unsuccessful, and they were struggling. So that was when I started. I met a guy from Austin who didn't have enough money to get home, and basically I bought his company, his name, his equipment. I didn't have any equipment to go to New York with me. I borrowed equipment. I bought Longhorn Restoration from a guy in Austin, and so that I could change my name from a carpet cleaning company to a restoration company, and lived in a tent at a campground for 7 months in the winter in New Jersey. And my wife came there, and she lived in a tent with me in New Jersey for months with a 1-year-old baby with no bathroom. And I did really well. And so I came back to Texas, and I jumped into the water restoration industry very heavily. I saw potential there. I saw a lot more profits over carpet cleaning. And so I kept the carpet cleaning to sort of be there's no consistency to the water restoration industry. So I kept carpet cleaning as my bread and butter, in between flood jobs. And I started doing high-end carpet cleaning, very, very high-end carpet cleaning, like George Bush's house in Dallas and Jerry Jones's stuff. I went from cleaning Section 8, the lowest of the low carpets, to being the most expensive carpet cleaner in Texas. And then along with that came water restoration. And in the meantime, I would do all kinds of things. I would do commercial carpet cleaning. I would do because I'm still building a water restoration company. So I would go to storms. I would go like behind hurricane, a hurricane. I would go in there and I would try to hustle work, and sometimes it would work, and sometimes it wouldn't work. And every time I fell on my face, I would sort of learn from that. I wouldn't be discouraged. I've gone to a lot of storms where I made not make any money. I took a huge loss, but I've never repeated those mistakes again. And so now I have a relatively successful business, and I teach classes for other people on how to storm chase, and that's that.
That's awesome, man. Look at that. See, how many bike rides have you been on? I've never heard all of that. So it's cool. I didn't know about the New Jersey and the 10.
We're usually out of breath.
That's true. That's true. Cool. Well, and you kind of answered, the next question I was going to ask you was how you got into that. I think you're very clear about how you got into where you're at right now. Tell me real quick, your business today, what is it? So you're still doing the carpet cleaning, water restoration?
Right. So right now, myself personally, I do pretty much exclusively water restoration. I don't do very much carpet cleaning. I have subcontractors, very, very high-end contractors who take care of the carpet cleaning for me. It's about maybe 10 to 20% of my income and about 70 to 80% of my headaches. So I don't really have a lot of joy for carpet cleaning anymore.
Yeah.
And every year I sort of step farther away from the carpet and rug cleaning as well. There's just, my time is more efficiently spent in the water restoration aspect than it is in the carpet cleaning. So I still have it. I still retain a lot of my old clients. And the reason we keep the carpet cleaning, even though it's not really profitable, is because whenever those houses where you did a $100 carpet cleaning on flood, I'm the guy they call when they have a $10,000 flood. And so I still retain that clientele. I break even or probably take a loss on a lot of carpet cleanings, but I still retain the client. And that is just considerate marketing.
I love that you just said that, it was carpet cleaning was 20 or 30% of your income, but 70 or 80% of your headaches, man. And that you noticed that and you took action on it. And we're like, it's not worth it to keep, it's
right.
important for business owners and entrepreneurs to realize where their struggles are and focus their efforts on where where they have work, what they can leverage and what they can take most advantage on.
Right.
And you kind of already touched on this also in the very beginning about what you and your family love to do, and then y'all go out and do a bunch of stuff. But and I think your business is changing constantly, and you're still have the carpet and you're focusing on other areas. But what do you love most about what you do?
Well, there's a few different aspects. I enjoy the work. I really do. I am at this point in my career, I am I'm sort of considered an expert. And so I really, really enjoy helping other people in my industry succeed. When I first started, I was very competitive. I had all of these trade secrets and this intellectual property that I wouldn't share with anyone. I really was under the impression that if I told them these things, then they would steal my business. And I was just wrong. That's just not the case. I have found at this point that the more contractors in my industry, even locally, that I help, that I connect with, that I give them tips and advice and encouragement, the better it is for me. So in the beginning, I was like, man, this is my secret, and this is my little trick, and this is how I get this customer, and this is how I do that. And I really thought that that was what was setting me apart from my competition. I was just wrong. At this point, if any other contractor calls me, I will go for at no charge and help them on their job to make them look like geniuses. And they bring in, the expert, they bring in this guy, and I say, listen, I'm going to pull up in a unlabeled truck and an unlabeled shirt, and you can tell your client that I work for you. It makes no difference to me at all. And you look like a genius because you brought in, your ace up your sleeve. And so I mentor a lot of local guys. I mentor guys across the country, other businesses, on how to run their businesses efficiently. And I like it. And also, and I said this before, I like being the hero, especially behind storms. Whenever you go into, like, for instance, I spent a lot of time in North Carolina last fall during Hurricane Florence. And people sort of have a bad taste with what's referred to as storm chasing contractors. Like for instance, there's a hailstorm here in Fort Worth. And so guys who were flipping burgers 2 weeks ago are now suddenly in the hail business.
Yeah.
And they give a lot of people a bad name. What they don't realize is, for instance, these towns may have had 2 to 3 water restoration contractors, and now they were doing three or 4 jobs a month. Now they have hundreds of jobs a month, and these jobs cannot be completed without out-of-state contractors. There's just simply not enough people in the industry in these small towns to take care of it. So I like going in there and helping people who have had their houses destroyed. In the beginning, I was sort of viewed as a vulture, and now I'm sort of viewed as the hero. I go into towns, and instead of trying to get the work myself, I go into towns and I support the local contractors who have the jobs. And I say, I bring in equipment. I have a lot of equipment. And so I say, you have 10 fans and 10 dehumidifiers, and you need 1,000 fans and 500 dehumidifiers. And so, and you don't know what you're doing. That it seems very easy from layman's perspective, and it's much more complicated than even people in the industry realize. And so I say, hey, you're opening yourself up to a lot of liability doing things this way. In order to protect yourself, do things that way. And they're all grateful. I don't burn any bridges. They're always very happy to have me go and assist them. So, and cool. It gives me a lot of free time, man.
Yeah. 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 So that's awesome. I love, like I said already, man, you and I've been on so many bike rides, and I feel like I know you, and I'm still learning more on this call right now. So I love that. But now transitioning a little bit from you and your business to where we're at right now, how has the current situation affected your business?
Carpet cleaning is pretty much non-existent. And water restoration has been close to non-existent, very, very slow. I usually average probably 5 to 10 water jobs, water restoration jobs a week. And I think that in the past 6 weeks, I have done 2. And so it's pretty much dead. And we're kind of all in the same boat. And I've spoken to other people in the industry. A lot of people who are in the carpet cleaning and water restoration industry have sort of transitioned into the disinfecting aspect in order to keep the lights on. I haven't. I just haven't because I don't necessarily need to. That's not a great job, even though I know how to do it. It's very labor intensive. There's a lot of liability in it. So I haven't. So I've sort of taken this time to catch my breath. I've had my foot on the gas pedal to the floor for the past 15 years. So this has been one of the first opportunities I've ever had to completely stop. I was talking to my wife, whenever we spend time with our kids, I'm not fully there. I'm always in the back of my mind. I have a big business to run. So we may be riding bikes and a tenth of the time I'm thinking about the jobs I have tomorrow and what I have to do when I get back and things I need to fix and invoices and I run a whole business within my head. And so I'm never totally present, so to speak. And so taking this opportunity to sort of be present, analyze my business, what parts of the business are, sometimes you're going so fast and you're always hustling. You never have time to step back and look at what's working, what's not working. And so that's what we're doing and I'm probably on the other side of this going to make some significant changes to my business, just because I've had the time to step back and look at it from a different perspective, not being involved in it, looking at, because it's closed pretty much. And so we're going to make a lot of changes once this is all sort of over with.
So that was my next question. That was, what is there anything you'll be changing moving forward as a result of what we're calling right now COVID-19? So if you just said significant changes, just name one. What's one thing you see yourself completely changing moving forward?
My water restoration business has been basically a word of mouth business. Because I do high end clientele all kind of know each other, or they're all sort of run in certain circles. And so if you have one person who has their guy and I'm their guy, they'll refer him out. That is a good business model. It's very hard to create that business model without a lot of time. And on the other side of this quarantine and coronavirus, things like that, I'm going to look at more aggressive marketing, so to speak. So instead of letting the company grow itself through osmosis, through word of mouth, and me just doing the work and not marketing at all, I'm going to focus pretty heavily on marketing. I mean, and you know this for yourself, I've been in business for 16 years now, and you built my website 6 months ago.
Yeah.
My first website.
Yeah.
So I am, and I'd already kind of started that in the beginning, a little bit, but I hadn't really committed to that style of business yet.
Yeah.
And I'm going to on the other side of this. So I'm going to not only market, pound the pavement, which is what I have found to be the most effective, but I'm also going to heavily put some money into my website, which is going to come your way. I'm going to put a lot of money from Facebook and things like that, and just try to build the business differently than how it has been built so far.
Yeah.
So
cool.
That's fortunate.
Yeah. What that's good to hear that. What do you look forward to the most to getting back to either working or just personally after shelter in place is over, or if COVID is gone? Or
well, I am we've kind of enjoyed quarantine. One thing that this is one thing that I give a lot of advice to people in my industry is to keep your expenses low. So I don't have a big warehouse. I don't have a lot of bills every month. Because my business is so inconsistent, we are very safe and cautious when it comes to the money that we have going out. So we don't have a lot of debt. We don't have a lot of payments. I can live. We live very. I don't want to say simply, but we live below our means, so to speak. Yeah. Because of that, I haven't received any money from the government. I haven't received any of these programs and like that, and we're still okay. Yeah. And because we don't huge rent payments every month at a shop, or and a lot of people years ago, when they sort of heard my business model, were like, man, that's you're running a very successful business on a shoestring budget. Instead of a warehouse or a shop, I have large, huge racing trailers that I put in storage and parking spots. So instead of paying $3,000 to $4,000 a month for rent, I pay $65 a month for a parking spot at a storage facility. And because of that, these guys are now looking back at me and be like, man, Adam, he's not so dumb after all. He may have done things kind of backwards, than we normally do. But right now it makes sense because these guys are struggling, and I don't want to say we're thriving, but we're definitely, I'm not losing a whole lot of sleep because I know that we're going to be okay. So of course I'm trying to find solutions like that. But when this is over, I'm looking forward to kind of building a new business. I'm looking forward to, I'm sort of a student of business, and I'm pay as much attention to businesses that close down as I do to businesses that remain open. I'm as interested in failures as I am successes, which is very, and it's hard to teach people that is your business may have fell on its face. Why? And what would you change from that? And it's easy to see success. It's easy to understand success. You are like the hardest worker ever, and you're a genius, and you have a lot of money, but understanding how businesses fail is very, very important, and why. What did you do wrong? What would you redo? And the only reason that I know this is because I have failed dozens and dozens of times, and learned from that and try to refine that process. So I'm looking forward to building this new company that is different than the company I've ever built. I started with coupons in the phone book. Now I'm going to throw some money at online marketing and different forms of marketing. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Cool. So, you kind of touched on how the current situation has affected the way you market your business. We know how you did in the past and what you're going to do in the future. What have you done in the past? And I think you kind of touched on this a little bit. I'm sure maybe the New Jersey hurricane, was that Hurricane Sandy up in New Jersey?
Yeah.
Maybe Hurricane Sandy was it. But what did you do in the past to overcome a rough situation like this one? And are you doing something similar? Are you doing the same?
I hustled, and that is, and I hustle hard, like Hurricane Harvey, for example. Okay. I went to Hurricane Harvey, and I slept in the bed of my pickup truck for 8 weeks in summer in Houston. Okay. And I had a lot of guys give me a hard time about that. Like, why don't you get a hotel? Why don't you eat out? And the reason is I am not trying to go on a vacation from my family and work out of town. I'm going there to be as efficient as possible, make as much money as possible. I was eating, I wasn't eating out. I had a cooler of food, and I spent as much money working in the 2 months I spent in Hurricane Harvey in the 2 months as a lot of guys spent in a week. But then when everyone came home after Hurricane Harvey, I had way more money left than these guys did because they spent money there. So and Hurricane Sandy, for example, I went to New York. I knew no one. I had never been farther east than Arkansas. I had no business. I literally didn't even really know how to do what I was trying to do. And I sat in the Home Depot parking lot with business cards. I sat on the bed of my pickup truck with my dog, and everyone who walked out of Home Depot carrying something which I felt was related to the storm, like they were carrying bleach, or if they were carrying shop vacs, or if they were buying, something, fans or things like that, I would give them a business card. And I hustled hard. I mean, I didn't, I wasn't passive with my marketing during that time, because I just couldn't be. And that was effective. I met one contractor at Home Depot, and this one contractor was like, "Man, I like your hustle. I have 10 houses." And I'm like, "Man, I'm dying to work." And then that 10 houses led to 40 houses, and those 40 houses led to like 300 houses. And every time that I would do a job, I would do it as well as possible. And on top of that, I would try to make friends with my clients. And I would be honest with them, like, "Hey, listen, I'm up here. I'm going to do a really good job, but I'm broke. If you have friends, let them know that I'm broke. I'm a really good guy. I'm really honest. I would rather do this very, very, very expensive job for you for free than do this very, very expensive job for you and have you pay but be bitter at the end." And whenever you have happy people like that who kind of know your mindset, I tell them that, and to this day, I tell people that. Like, if you're not happy, one of two things happen. Either I'm going to continue to work on this project until you are happy, or I'm not going to charge you a dime. And that, I've gotten a lot of flack for that, but most people sort of understand that, and they're like, "Adam, you can't run a business that way. You can't offer that." Well, I do, and it's successful. And I say that sort of starting a business or running a business is kind of like having your first kid. No one is ever ready for it.
Yep.
No one ever thinks that they're ready for it. You have to kind of jump into it, and then you're going to receive tons of unsolicited advice that's not necessarily accurate from people who don't really know what they're talking about. You'll get both. You'll have parents who walk up to you and they'll say, "Well, my little Johnny was walking at 6 months, and he was out of diapers, and by 9 months." And then, I'm like, "Well, yeah, but Johnny's in jail now, so I don't want to do what you're doing."
Yeah.
And you'll get the same advice from other business people, like, "Well, you can't do that, Adam. That's not how anybody runs a business." I'm like, "I can." I just because I'm doing things differently than you are doesn't mean that it's not a good idea. It's just thinking differently than you do, and I run it differently. And I've had a lot of guys. Even yesterday, I had a guy on Facebook who was like, he was complaining that he hadn't received any government assistance. Same industry as I am, in the Metroplex as well. And I'm like, "Man, I haven't received any assistance either. Keep your chin up." And he's like, "Yeah, Adam, but you're like the MacGyver of this industry. You do things so differently that you're gonna be fine." And he said this on a public forum, like, "Yeah, well, I don't do things the way you do. You're gonna be fine. I have rent. I have a lot of he took on a lot of debt buying equipment." And I told him this beforehand. I said, I don't mention his name, but I'm like, "You have the 'if I build it, they will come' mindset, and I have the 'if they come, I will build it' mindset." And so get the clients first, then build the business. And that's a little bit differently, but that's a very safe way to build a company. It's slow. It will grow slowly. But if you have, and starting any business, whether it's sharpening pencils or roofing or anything like that, getting the equipment, or getting the storefront, or getting the restaurant equipment, or whatever it is, that's always the easiest part. People think that's the hard part. If I just had this $10,000 lawnmower, I would have a really, really good landscaping company. And that's not the case at all. That's where a lot of people think but has nothing to do with that lawnmower. It has nothing to do with the restaurant. It has nothing to do with the location. Get the clients first, then go from there. And that's how I've done it. It's been okay. I'm here. My lights are on.
That's awesome, man. What you just said, that's, it's not about the lawnmower. That's farthest from the case. And a lot of people do think that. That's cool.
Yeah. It's all about marketing. And is getting the clients. You can have an industry, whatever you want, as long as you market enough and sell it and have a clientele. It doesn't matter what it's never getting the business. It's getting the clients, which is the hard part. And that's hard for new business owners to understand, but that's the reality.
Yeah. Cool, man. Dude, I've loved this. We'll go riding this weekend and we'll talk about it, but I really, really enjoyed this. We got to talk some other things that like I said already, we don't even talk about when we're on the bike or even in the neighborhood. So I've loved this. How can our viewers find you?
Well, my boy Anthony made me this really awesome website. That's Longhorn Restoration .com.
We went with the .com. Yeah.
.com. Facebook. My phone number is, most people call and text me, 817-235-0569. And Facebook, Adam Apstein or Longhorn Restoration are both on there. And my personal and business are very hand in hand. So if you're my personal page or my business page, they're both pretty much tied. My business is kind of my life. So I can't escape it.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to tell us about yourself or your business?
No, I would just say if you're another business owner in this time, sort of to look at this as, instead of being try, this is hard to say, this is way easier said than done, but look at this as an opportunity. We are hopefully never going to have another time like this where you can focus on your family. I haven't, and I'm very, very, very family oriented, but I have never had sort of unbridled free time where there's just nothing I can do about it. We're all in this together. Everyone is sort of struggling at the same time. And so staying up late at night doing long division in your head is not going to make you one more dime. And so don't stress it. Keeping my, I've talked to you about this before, is I have severe anxiety. I just can't help it. It's one of the reasons why I exercise so much. And for years, I would stay up late at night solving problems, or I wouldn't solve problems. I would just think about problems. And I would say take this time to stop and smell the roses. And this is, try to be creative, try to learn things, try to look at your business and find holes in it, find things that can be shored up, and experiment. And do not be afraid to try something new. And if you fall on your face, just move on. Don't be discouraged. Don't quit just because it didn't work. And at the same time, also know when to quit. There are some times where this is just a bad idea. Don't be afraid to be like, man, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought this would go this way. I thought we would make a right turn here, and it made a total left turn. Don't keep trying to make a right turn. If it has made a left turn and that left turn is right off a cliff, drop it and be like, well, I didn't know that was going to make a left turn. I won't do that again, and I'm going to continue to do this. So don't be discouraged. That's way easier said than done. Everyone can say that stuff. It's like, oh, don't worry about it. But you're never going to have an opportunity like this to spend with your family. So take advantage of it. So that's what I would say.
Awesome. Adam, man, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time. You rock. And I, again, appreciate it. And I'll give you a call later.
All right, man. Talk to you later, buddy. Thank you, sir.
Cheers. Bye.
All right.
Just bounce it.